If you're an entry-level data analyst looking for your first job, you may be facing the same challenge I did. When I was looking for my first job, I would go into job searching websites and try to find entry-level positions. And I kept having this problem where I would filter it and I would search over and over again, and I just kept getting a mix of entry, mid, and senior level positions that just by the name, I couldn't tell by reading it if they were entry level or not. Some of them would say that they were entry level and they would have, I need 5 years experience. I would see ones that were mid and senior level that said no experience required. There didn't seem to be any consistency when it came to finding entry level jobs. So in today's video, I'm going to go over some of the lessons that I've learned in my job hunting, and I'm going to talk to you guys about job titles and entry level data positions. What's going on, guys? Thank you for clicking on this video. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan and I've been a data analyst for just over a year now. And on this channel, I make videos that hopefully help out other data analysts or people that are looking to become a data analyst like me. And I just show you my journey, the things that I'm working on, and I just hope that I can create a community of data analysts that help each other out and continue to grow and learn. Okay, so let's get right into it. So I think one of the biggest reasons why there's a lot of confusions around entry-level data analyst jobs online is that there isn't a consistent title for the different levels. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the general names that are out there. I will include a little bit of some of the more industry-specific job titles, but for this video's purposes and for simplicity's sake, I'm going to keep it to the general methods. Okay, so we're going to start with the general names that you'll see for entry-level positions. So the four that I typically have seen are associate data analyst, entry-level data analyst, junior data analyst, and data analyst. Now there are more industry-specific titles that you'll see, either in combination of this or separate, but a couple examples of those are financial analyst, business intelligence analyst, operations analyst, reporting analyst, and so many more. Now, the tricky part about any of these names is although sometimes it spells out that they are entry level, they are not always entry level, and I'll explain why. I'll start with a great example, which is the job that I currently have. So, the company that I work for actually has 5 levels for our position. So, we have associate, entry level, junior, senior, and senior 2. Now, when I was hired on for my job, I was actually told that they don't really use the associate level position anymore. It's for people that don't have college degrees and that don't really have the same work experience. But they typically find that with the specialized field that we have, that most people, if they're already qualified, that it just makes more sense for them to start out at the entry level positions. So the normal progression for people that, like me in my job, would be to start off at the entry level position, work it for about a year or two until they're at the junior level, and then after 3 to 4 years, make the first senior level, and then after that is when you specialize and become a senior level 2. Now, most jobs do follow some type of entry, mid to senior level positions like mine does. So the most typical example that you would see would be junior data analyst, senior data analyst. That is what makes the most sense in terms of breaking down the progression of data analyst, in my opinion. So the jobs that do that have a pretty good understanding of which is entry, what is mid-level, and what is senior level. So now where some of the confusion comes into place is when you have different levels of a certain title. So for instance, with my company, we have 2 levels of senior analyst. Sometimes you'll see junior level 1 and junior level 2, and although both are looking like they are entry level, only one really is entry level. So junior level 1 obviously would be the entry level position, and junior level 2 would be an entry level position if you are an extremely qualified candidate, meaning like master's degree, high end portfolio projects. You might be able to get in, but it is more of that mid tier. So, and then there are other companies that have just 2 levels where there is no mid level. For instance, you'll see just data analyst and senior data analyst, where the data analyst position is like the combination of entry level and mid, and then where the senior data analyst is just senior. And then you have other companies too where using that same format, the only entry level is data analyst, and that senior data analyst is anything that is mid-tier and above. Now, what causes this differences in levels or this differences in titles across companies is for a number of different factors. For like my company, we actually the reason why we have different so many different levels is that we have different levels of work. We have work that is very specialized, where it's very client based or very specific to a department, which requires a lot of knowledge of data. And so that's why we have multiple levels of senior level. And one of the things that we do have too is just very basic data entry and data cleaning. So that's why we have associate levels or entry level positions. And so with some companies, all they have is specialized or all they have is just data entry, data cleaning. So I think the type of work, the type of data, the size of the organization, and just the overall structure of the company makes a big difference as to what the titles are. So with that, you cannot completely rely just on the title of the names. So my first tip for you guys is when you're clicking on job titles is to actually go into the description of the job and look for a couple things. The first thing that I would look for entry level positions is anything that is from 0 to up to 3 years of experience needed. Like I said before, there are some jobs where all they have is just 2 levels. So if they're having a entry level slash mid, all condensed into one position, they'll put on their descriptions that they need up to 2 to 3 years experience. But since that's their entry level position, if you are a well qualified candidate, it's not without the realm or it's not out of the realm of you being able to get that position. Now, the second thing that I would look for are for jobs that are asking for skills other than Python, SQL, Excel, and Power BI. If there is a skill required that is under the job description that you don't recognize or you immediately recognize as something that is beyond a normal level, that is most likely a mid or senior level position. So I think that's a pretty good dead giveaway. And then the final tip that I would have is when you're actually doing job searches, a filter that you can use that helped me out a lot was to actually filter by the company. Now, the reason why I think that is a good tip is that when you filter out by company, you can actually have a better chance of seeing what their overall structure looks like. So one of the reasons why I liked the job that I had was that they spelled out very clearly the different levels. And I was able to see that in the job descriptions of the jobs that they were hiring because they had the senior level 2, senior level, entry level, and the junior level ones already spelled out with their job descriptions and the differences in between them. The hardest part of getting into the data analysis world is getting that first job. So it might not be the easiest thing in the world. It might take time. It might take a lot of effort, but I'm hoping that these things will help you guys out, like to help me out. I will 100% admit I got lucky that I found the job that I did and how long it took for me to get that job. But that doesn't mean that if those things wouldn't have happened for me, that I wouldn't have been doing the right things to get a job eventually. And that's the thing you got to keep reminding yourself is as long as I'm improving myself, improving my portfolio, constantly setting out my resume, and you're doing those good things, eventually it'll pay off. So for any of you that are a little discouraged about not being able to get a job right away, or the time that it's taking, or the frustration of this video, which is just trying to find the right jobs, it'll come, it takes time, and you guys will get there. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. For any of you that are senior data analysts or even recruiters for data analysts, if you guys have any other tips or tricks or words of advice that you guys would like to give, please leave it down in the comments below. And if you guys have any questions for me directly, please reach out to me either here on YouTube. You guys can find me on Instagram or on LinkedIn, and those links are up in my channel description.